2019 was a great year for movies and for this channel as well. So before I begin, I want to say a big, serious thank you to anyone who has ever watched my videos. All your comments, advice, and encouragement has seriously fueled my desire to create better, more relevant content all the time. And in the next few minutes, I'm gonna talk about some of the highlights of 2019 as well as my 10 favorite movies of the year. 2019 was pretty great. I attended my first premiere screening of a movie along with some very cool people. I've since attended 2 more premiere screenings, which I am very grateful for. I went to support a local initiative which set up pop-up cinemas in the back alleys of Kuala Lumpur, which was a lot of fun. I paid tribute to a legend in Malaysian cinema, meeting some new filmmaking friends in the process as well, all the while turning my regular movie reviews into video essays about movies, which were more analytical and hopefully more educational. It's been a productive year and an entertaining one as well. So, how did I decide on my top 10 movies? Well, I focus on 3 criteria, which are filmmaking quality, or how good is a film's technical aspects, its writing, acting, and directing. Secondly, emotional impact, super important in my overall watching experience. And lastly, rewatchability. Can I turn this movie on anytime in the next year and still enjoy it as much or more the second time round? Alright, without further ado, let's start off with number 10, which is Booksmart. This movie is witty, funny, and definitely the high school film of the year. I was lucky enough to watch this at a local private cinema, Amenic Film Space. Very grateful to them for showing the movie because it wasn't released in theaters at all where I lived. Booksmart is this great directorial debut by Olivia Wilde, featuring great performances from Beanie Feldstein, Caitlin Dever, and Billy Lord. You can tell that being on the set of this film was an insanely good experience for the entire cast, and I was so impressed by how the movie is written with a clear message. A message of multiplicity. One person is more than just the smart one, or the geeky one, or the cool one, or the trashy one. We are more than our labels, and what better way to tell a story about that than to have 2 very studious girls who decide to let their hair loose on the last day of high school. Defo a fun watch, and I'm putting it at number 10. Number 9, Ford vs Ferrari. I watched this in a theater with a great sound system, and damn was it worth it. James Mangold knocks it out of the park yet again with a movie about the 24 hours of Le Mans endurance race, featuring the acting talent of Christian Bale and Mark Wahlberg. This was a joy to watch from start to finish, with incredible pacing, which is nice since this is a racing movie. The production design is also fantastic, the cinematography is beautiful, and the eye for detail in the racing scenes is jaw-dropping. But it is the sound design of this movie that puts it at number 9, which is amazing. It really feels like you are on the road in these driver's seats, and I would definitely say that Ford vs Ferrari is like the sound of pure adrenaline pumping through your veins. Number 8 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's strange to tell you why I like this movie so much, because I can't really explain it other than the fact that it's a really enjoyable watch with a very optimistic and funny story. What else? I would say that this is a very layered film in terms of the acting, the way it tells its story, the disjointed nature of its screenplay, and the variety of filmmaking techniques it uses and subverts. It's really the sort of magical cinematic force that you expect from Quentin Tarantino, and I liken this movie to Pulp Fiction almost, in that there really isn't a cohesive story, but the style and swagger in which it tells the story is charming as hell. Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt are both brilliant in this movie, which is not surprising, but their chemistry is great too. And I also heard a critic say that this is the most movie of the year, and I gotta say, I don't really understand it, but I kinda agree with it at the same time. Number 7 is Rocketman. Listen, Rami Malek may have been great as Freddie Mercury in Bo Rap, but I really do think that Taron Egerton one-ups him by playing Sir Elton John. What I love about Rocketman is how fully it embraces the spirit of Elton John, from the music, the flamboyance, the fact that the movie is a true musical and not just a movie about music. The movie builds up, and when it takes off, it doesn't stop at all, and I had an absolute blast watching this film. I said in my written review that I admired how director Dexter Fletcher really went for a balanced portrayal of Elton John's highs, no pun intended, and his lows as he struggled with self-expression, with being accepted, and in the end, this is simply a very heartfelt story about falling down, getting back up, and killing it with the eyes of the world on you. Number 6 is Ad Astra. I feel pretty bad putting this movie so far down this list because I think this movie is amazing. Definitely the most underrated movie of the year in my opinion, and I'm guessing that's simply because it's such a quiet movie. But the beauty is sometimes in the silence, you know, and this is really a gorgeous looking film directed by James Gray and featuring probably the most understated performance of the year by Brad Pitt. I'm a big fan of science fiction, and this is a very solid portrayal of our future universe. Although you can definitely see inspiration from movies of the past, I think the way Ad Astra executed those concepts was brilliant, and I think this is a very thought-provoking, reflective story about an astronaut tasked with finding his lost father at the edge of our solar system. It comments on consumerism, about international relations, and most notably about the bond between a parent and a child, and how strong the effect of that relationship is. It might have been a slow burn to some, and maybe poor marketing for others, but to me, this is one of my favorites of the year. Coming in at number 5 in my list is Avengers Endgame. If there was one huge Disney franchise that I had to pick to not screw up in 2019, it would be Avengers Endgame, a movie that was 11 years and 21 movies in the making. It has the strange honor of kind of being a finale to a long-running series, but also not being the last movie in its own franchise. At the time of recording, it is the biggest movie of all time, and it absolutely destroyed the box office with nothing coming close to matching it. Let's talk about the movie itself, shall we? Joe and Anthony Russo directed this very satisfying spiritual finale of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and although I had my problems with the way the second act panned out, the last 30 minutes of the film could probably break the very fabric of movie space-time with how awesome and spectacular it is. The sublime action, the crazy visual effects, and the strength of its emotional resonance. This movie is the pinnacle of a franchise that changed the game, and it'll be a long time before we see a superhero trio as iconic as Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. Believe me. Number 4 on my list is Parasite. If you are watching this after February 2020, then you would already know who won Best Picture at the Oscars. But right now, some critics are saying that Bong Joon-ho's 2019 drama could be a favorite. It's the story about a poor family in South Korea who swindles their way into working for a very rich family. It is almost flawless in terms of its filmmaking quality, in particular its editing and the quirky and unconventional way the script turns on its head. If you have a passion for movies, then honestly this is a cinematic roller coaster and you should be hanging on for dear life. That's how good Bong Joon-ho is as a storyteller, and I think Parasite is an incredible film about class conflict, about how the poor and the rich perceive the same things differently, and I think that universal element of the movie is why it is my number 4. At number 3 is Joker, a very divisive film at this current time, but a movie watching experience that made me feel extremely uneasy, like this overwhelming urge to take a shower and hide under my blanket. And I gotta give props to Joaquin Phoenix for making me feel that way with his chilling performance, as well as Todd Phillips for his gritty, realistic screenplay about a man who slowly descends into madness through his rage. Some of us will say that art has a responsibility to represent the world respectfully and tastefully, and some would say art's responsibility is to expose what the world is really like. I have little doubt that Todd Phillips was more of the latter, and this movie feels like a message to the world about what the writer thinks society is, or what we could allow our society to become. An unforgiving, dysfunctional community full of apathy, void of remorse for the needy, and blind to greed and corruption and the effect of the media. All of these things were going through my head as I watched Joker unfold, and for better or for worse, the conversation this movie sparked, even if it takes place entirely in your head, represents the power of good cinema, and that is why Joker is at number 3. On to number 2 now, and this movie made me laugh and cheer, all while making my brain spin in the best of ways. It is Knives Out. This is a murder mystery which takes place mostly in an old mansion, and I think the best way I can describe Knives Out is that it is an impeccable, wildly entertaining mystery movie, and is the most fun I had in a theater in 2019. Also, if you hated Rian Johnson for The Last Jedi, then this is the movie to change your mind. It's the kind of movie you pump your fist in the air to out of celebration for this masterclass of a story. Written and directed by Rian Johnson, it stars so many amazing actors who all give such quirky performances that are really over the top, but all in a very tongue-in-cheek, vaudevillian way. It's not the conventional whodunit, it twists and it turns in unexpected ways. It's a crowd pleaser, it's gonna be so rewatchable, and that's why I have it at number 2. Now, before I make it to number 1, I want to mention 3 honorable mentions that didn't make it to the top 10. The Farewell is great for its cultural significance and its fantastic performances, but I didn't feel like it gripped me as emotionally as I wanted it to. Also, this is gonna be a huge shock to a lot of people, but on my honorable mentions is The Irishman and Marriage Story, 2 films which I acknowledge are movie magic spells in their own way, with brilliant writing and even better performances, but based on where I am in my life right now and the movies I watched growing up, I feel like I didn't connect to these movies very strongly, and I think I would appreciate them a lot more when I'm older and more experienced, but that's just my opinion. Alright guys, I've kept you waiting long enough, let's cut to the chase. My number 1 movie of 2019 is Toy Story 4. The only movie that made me tear up in 2019 is one of the most surprising. I was so skeptical about how this movie could be good after Toy Story 3 ended so brilliantly in 2013, but Disney and Pixar exceeded my expectations yet again. Toy Story 4 is a beautifully animated movie which deals with existential dilemmas, growth, and moving on in life. It's funny, thrilling, and heartwarming, and this movie felt to me like a companion, watching us, the audience, grow and telling us gently that life moves, the world around you changes, and you along with it. It is a movie about breaking out of who you are now to get to who you want to be, and the courage and self-awareness it takes to break that barrier down. This may be a story about toys, but it is 100% also a movie about us, a movie about a different phase of life. And to me, that's the perfect movie to end a decade and start a new one. Hey guys, thank you so much again for watching this video. Thank you for accompanying me on this great journey in 2019. I look forward to seeing you more in 2020. Stick around because I'll be back with a new video for you guys. So until next time, have a great year ahead, maximum hype, and I'll see you next time.